I looked through a gap in the forest canopy, up at the sky, alive with sunset blaze, and thought, beyond the heavy shroud of human concern, life is vibrantly beautiful. Then I took another step, and I was falling into the earth, my head bright with shock, as my surrounding grew darker and darker. I fell, thinking only that I was about to die, and I did not know why or even really how. I managed to twist around during my descent and land on my back so that my back cushioned the fall a bit. There was an uncertain and horrifying moment where my breath would not come to me and my nervous system still screamed against the prospect of imminent death. When my breath finally returned, it brought with it a coiling snatch, which cut short any feelings or relief about being alive. I tried not to consciously put a name to that smell and plugged my nose, while sucking in the air through my mouth until I had resumed something approaching a steady rhythm. Then I looked up at the opening of the hole I had fallen into, where the last of the day's light was seen. It was impossible to tell how far up it was, but it was far enough. I would have to climb out somehow. I tried, but all in vain. It was not quite soft, and it was not quite hard, though sometimes harder and sometimes softer. It was cold. Death. The thought came to me unbidden, and despite my best efforts to keep it at bay, the smell is death. And below you, corpses, you are landed in a fucking mass grave. I sprang to my feet and took a series of careful steps, trying not to trip over what I imagined in the darkness were body parts. An armpit here, ready to snag my foot, a knee there, jutting out of the mound of dead bodies. Crunch, squish. I kept moving forward, focusing first and foremost and finding a way out of this mess. My arms stretched out unsteadily, seeking a wall. The wall, I soon discovered, was slick, with some slimy substance to stick to climb, but I tried anyway, desperately, scraping around my hands and feet, searching for a hold. There was none. After a few minutes of effort, I got winded again, and I had to stuck in the rank air, hard and deep. Be calm, I thought, attempting to subdue my flight response. There was nowhere to run to. I needed to use my head, not your head, your phone. I set my pack down on the ground and reached in the front pocket. It was wet from the landing. I found that phone was there, and even before I pulled it out, my heart sank. It felt rough and jagged, like the screen had shattered. I took it out and began mashing away at the power button. There was no response. A shirt from my bag served as a makeshift respirator to stifle the smell as I stood there considering my increasingly hopeless situation. I was deep in the woods of northern areas alone, well off the hunting trail that I had started from. Even if I had stuck to the trail, it was not hunting season, so there was unlikely to be anybody around. The owner of the property was possibly home, but his house was mile away. Why did I have to go to so deep? I would taken these trips every few months to get as far away from human civilization as I could, to cleanse myself when life became outstuffed with memories, worries, and pettiness. But now I would have given anything for the slightest proximity to that civilization. Let there be a cabin somewhere nearby, I prayed. And loud, how, how, the hole seemed to swallow up the sound of my shouts. I doubted if there could have been heard even by somebody standing right next to the opening, but out of sheer picnic I kept yelling. Every time that I pulled the shade away from my mouth to yell, I had to inhale the stench of death. As time wore on, the shout became increasingly and desperate until I lost my voice altogether. But then it was a dark above, as it was below, and a steady flow of adrenaline, spent uselessly, had run its course and left me exhausted. Such as, why is there a mass grave in the middle of the woods? Who do these bodies belong to? And who put them here and why? Suddenly it occurred to me that maybe it was not such a good idea to go on shouting when I got my voice back, not without the answers to those questions. Maybe that cabin I had been dreaming about earlier actually existed and served as the home of some brutal, psychopathic serial killer who was dumping his victim in this hole. Calm down, you are not even sure that these are dead bodies. What, what else are they? Only one way to find out. Shit, got to do it. Gotta know what you are up against. I struck a match and it confirmed to my eyes in a flash what my other senses had already discovered, a twisted mass of corpses tangled together from wall to wall. What was that thought? Can pretend you did not see it, just the shadows. I have seen, I have need to see. That was not fucking shadow. That was a inhuman face, and was not that a tail poking up in the corner, like a lizard's tail, but massive. Just the shadows, I tried to insist to myself. Not gonna do. You, and good to lie here. You need to know what you are up against. It took 6 tries to light the next match, due to my hands shaking so much, with the flaming stick pinched between my fingers. I took over where I thought I had seen a tail. Thankfully, it was not actually a tail, but rather an arm sticking straight up, rigid with death. Still, there was something off about the arm. The match burned out before I could figure out what exactly was off. I settled on explaining it away as a trick of shadows again. Now the face, feeling slightly more confident after seeming no tail. I flicked another match to the life and held in the front of the face, but only for a moment because the shock of what I saw made me drop the match. I sizzled out below me, extinguishing the light cast upon the nightmare vision before me. However, the image stayed tattooed in my mind. The face was without a doubt not human. There was a row of 6 or 7 small eyes arranged in an arch across its bony forehead. At least I presumed there were eyes rolled back into a pure white death gaze. The reason that I could not say for certain how many there were supposed to be was that a bolt wound sat in the center of them all, and had either shot one of them out or landed in the space in between. The wound itself was a black with rot, or maybe this thing played blacks. I thought. The ridges of the bone did not stop at the forehead, but spread out all across the face, seemingly at random, like a topographical map. Running between these mountains were branching rivers of thin black tubes diving up the otherwise grey flesh. It is grey normally, or is that just because it's dead? I wonder. The tubes are led to what was perhaps the most disturbing feature of the thing. There, where the nose and mouth should be on a human being, was a tangle or perhaps a dozen larger tubes, open on one end and and adorned with sharp black thorns. They looked designed to suck the life force out of whatever things the creature fed upon. It took a effort not to solve myself when I saw that face lit up, but I did not want to be covered in shit on top of everything else. Instead, I let my terror flow out of my eyes, sobbing like a child, no longer impressed by the majesty of life. Hours later, beyond exhausted but unwilling to lay down on those horrid corpses, I came up with a desperate idea. I could not call for help on my phone. I did not want to shout anymore. There was no telling who or what was lurking out there, or what they did do if they heard me, nor could I scale the walls. I had tried every spot in that hole, and the walls were all the same, slick with slime and without purchase. After seeming all situation, I was totally exhausted, all possibility. I kicked at one of those bodies underfoot out of sheer frustration. My kick sent an apprehend into motion in the darkness, and I heard it slap against some other dead flesh. And that's when I got my idea. I could not climb the walls, no, and but maybe I could climb the bodies. I felt around until I found a stray limb sticking out from the mass. I dug my feet in and pulled on it like my life depends on it. I strained every muscle in my body, but I felt a shift below me. I kept working at all, stopping to catch my breath and take a precious drink from the water bottles. Every now and then, once I even sat down for a spell. I was beyond being grossed out by that point. If I was planning on filling these things up and using them to scale my way to freedom, I had to get over all questions, and so I did. I kept it and tried to limp up. Then, just when I thought the corpus was almost free of the mass, I heard a terrible pop and went sprawling back on my ass, holding the now detached arm in my hand. I worked as methodically and efficiently as I could, uncovering one body and dragging it over against a wall, then the body, rolling it on top of the first, and so on until I had small pile of corpses that I could climb upon. It was nowhere near tall enough to reach the top, but it was a start. I kept at it, working harder than I would ever work before. Eventually, the pile got too high for me to heave another body on the top of it, so I had to make a little step out of more bodies. There was that song, straight away to heaven, but what I was doing was building a straight away from hell. One, a song. Fortunately, at least for the purpose of my project, there was no shortage of bodies. Every time I dragged one away, there was another waiting right below it. I wondered at the time, of course, what things were, where they had came from, and who had put them there, but it was an idle train of thoughts which was never ended. The kind you have when you are focused on something else. When I was working, my body needed it. I decided to take some rest. How I was still going was beyond me. Light was creeping back into the entrance of the hole above me, and I was down to my last bottle of water. Maybe I will just close my eyes for a minute, get my strength back up. Then I heard Kancho come from somehow above and decided to get back to work. Sometime later, dripping in sweat and gore, I caught the first scents of freedom, hints of pine, pitch, and moss wafting down and wrestling with. oppressive smell of death, and my own stink. Only a few more bodies, I thought, reaching up from the top of my mound towards the edge of the hole. Maybe only one more, if I could jump high enough. The thought of dragging even one more body up all that was filled me with despair. But that aroma of freedom gave me a surge of strength. I was ready to back down the street from hell when I heard voices from above getting nearer. I sounded like two of them, very male. I froze. What do I do? Can for help? No. There's no telling what their intentions are, and you are almost there on your own way. Play that until they are go. I dropped on top of one of the bodies. Unfortunately, my face landed right to things crotch. But I had determined long ago that they had no organ. Whatever there were, I had been discovery I would wanted to make, but rather one that had literally fallen upon me when one of the bodies had rollen off my mount and onto me. I lay still and listened. Can you believe it? I can't really. I mean, oh, stop, hold on, I need to rest. It's right there. Come on, man. It's right there. We get this one in and we can relax. I got rest for a second, man. You can carry them both yourself if you want. All right. Don't get your panties all wetted up now. We are rest if that's what you want. Just saying. Think of all the R&R we will be getting after we throw in. What if this is not the last one thought? That's all I am saying. You don't trust the censors after all this time when they have ever led us astray. I mean, these fuckers are smart, Bob. You know that maybe they found a way to hide from censor. Use your head. I hear both men, and then their heavy footsteps were getting closer. Then they were right above me. Oh, there they was three. Got it. One, two, three. I opened one eye to see a body fall past me and get swallowed up the darkness below. It hit the other bodies with soft thud. Now, for the sad sack. They repeated the procedure and tossed the second body into the pit. Shit. Piles getting pretty high, is not it? I can make them out down there now, you see. Yeah, let's just get there over with. Fine by me. The first laughed. Yeah, I guess not. Then he flicked the cigarette into the pit. Flames erupt below me. Started to climb up my pile of corpses. There was no way out now. After all that, there was no way out. I stood up and shouted, wait. In the instant, both guns were trained on me. The bigger man, the cigarette smoker, spoke first. The fuck are you? It's one of them, cried the other one. Don't look like one of. They are smart, I told you. Wait, I screamed again. feeling the heat rise. I am not one of them. I promise you I was just out for a hike. I paid Mr. Patterson to camp on his land. I swear. Do you know Mr. Patterson? Yeah, yeah. We know Mr. Patterson, said the big one. Or we did. When he was among the living, he was an unlucky man. And so are you. If man what you really are don't matter. The least in the end thought, I suppose. He cocked his gun, and his partner did likewise. It jumped out into the flames and be shot to death. I realized I felt like I had at the start falling helplessly into the darkness, into a certain death. Please, I said, please don't kill me. The big one opened his mouth to say something, but nothing came out. His eyes just got very wide, and then his body grew limp and collapsed. His gun fell down into the hole, and his arm dangled over the edge like a wet noodle. What had happened? Had his partner suddenly grown unconscious? I looked at him. No, he was just as confused as I was. And then, at the same time, we both understood what had happened. Stepping into the view above the dead man was of those things whose skin lay dead and burning below it. Its face tubes were dripping into the big man's blood. 7 eyes. I saw now clearly. They had 7 eyes, and all 7 of them now turned to gaze upon the little man. The man was able to get off a shoe into the thin skirt. Its blood was indeed black, I saw, but it was too late for him. The thin tubes were already buried in his neck, and they were fell together into the flaming pit of hell that I was trapped in. I felt myself sink a few inches as a flash below me turned to bubbling liquid. The fire was claiming and would be upon me in a matter of seconds. One more body, I thought mournfully. That's all I needed. What about him? I muttered, looking at a big man with his arm dangling down into the hole, but the bulk of his body on a solid ground. I guess it's good time to show as you have got. I let throw the air over in his direction, the heat below scorching me all the way up to the testicle. I reached a zenith, and time slowed down. I could feel the moment where I stopped going up and started going down. And in that moment I reached up and grabbed the dead man's arm. I pulled as hard as I could, and his corpse started to slide into the hole to join the rest of the dead bodies. I stopped falling and gained the slightest bit of upward momentum. I clawed my way up the man's back, dragging him down at the same time. Then I saw that he would be off. No one more helped to me. It was now or never. I reached my left hand up and dug widely into the edge of the opening. The strain was almost too much to bear, almost, but not quite. I brought my right hand up just as man's body fell all the way into the inferior. I awoke to a wet sensation on my face, like a dog was licking it. But when I opened my eyes, I did not see a dog. I saw seven small black eyes staring at me. The creature's tubes were exploring my face. Please, I gasped through a mouth raw with thirst. It was not me that killed you, kind. I mean you no harm. Please believe me. I just want to go home. The creature made some clicking sounds and was answered by more of the same from behind it. Then it stood up slowly. Five more of its kind were at my feet, standing tall in long white robe. Together they turned and walked into the woods in a smooth, gliding motion. The sky was painting of rich, swirling red and purple. I did not know if it was dusk or dawn. I did not know what those creatures were and what they wanted. I got painfully to my feet and began the long journey towards my home.